Hope you're enjoying the Tuesday show. Lovely day here in Austin, Texas. 85, but it feels like it's 85 and climbing here. Right off I-35 here at Frank Dinius Fields, practice fields. Texas outside today because of the nice weather. And let's take a look at Miles Anyabule. One of those young guys, Ahmad, that is going to have to step up. John Harris will not be in this game. You know what Marquise Goodwin can do. You know, obviously, what Jackson Shipley and Mike Davis can do. But you're going to see some of these guys they're going to have to step up and make some plays. Are they ready to do that?
Well, we'll find out on Saturday. You would like to think that your preparation has allowed you to be ready for this. I think the addition of Coach Wyatt has been fantastic. You see it all over the field in the way that they're running their routes, their ability to catch. Last year, there were a lot of drop balls. This year, doing a much better job.
Better too?
Absolutely.
What do you see as a former defensive back that, I mean, with your eye, you're obviously going to be a lot more trained. What do you see on the field that shows they're running better routes?
They're sharper. They're not sloppy, and they're hitting the spots they're supposed to. If they say 10 yards on that skinny post, they're hitting it at 10. And you have to do that in order for those windows to be open up for the quarterback and for you to be successful in this offense. And I think they're also doing a good job of blocking downfield, okay? This is a running team, but as a wide receiver, much like it is for a cornerback, I want to defend the pass every time. But there are times that on that edge, I have to come up and I have to hit Adrian Peterson.
Right.
And I have to lay the wood to these larger backs. These wide receivers being pesky in the DBs are also a vital part of the running game being successful early on. And they're doing that. And I think that's the addition to Coach Wyatt because the intensity has picked up at that position.
Well, there is Coach Wyatt right there. Let's take a look at what Texas was able to do through the air against Iowa State. Jackson Shipley, a 100-yard game. It seems like Ahmad shaking his head right now. One touchdown. Mike Davis, 72 yards and a touchdown. You see with Dominic Jones getting into the act. 13 yards. DJ Grant, 19 yards. Fozzie Whitaker. Fozzie's just been great. Has really stepped up as a leader and has not been upset that maybe Malcolm Brown's getting more carries. He's just filled in on the wild formation, catching the ball out of the backfield. Texas certainly was able to do it through the air. They're going to have to not only do it on the ground, as Ahmad has pointed out, you run the ball more in this game, you usually end up winning this football game if you rush for more yards. So that's going to be important. But let's take a look at the defense right now as they're getting into, this is just old school. There's a lot of new techniques these coaches have brought in from different areas and probably created on their own. But this was going on since football started, I think, or since sled started.
And this is football. And you think to yourself, well, why would this drill even make sense to do? Because, you know, clearly they're not putting their hands, referring to the dummies, they're not putting your hands in your chest or anything like that. But it's about the push that you can get at the line of scrimmage. And you mentioned how effective teams are at winning this ball game that's coming up on Saturday when you rush the football or when you defend against the run. Because there's two elements that are taking place every time the ball's thrown out there. And I think for this defensive line, if they can find a way to play in Oklahoma's backfield and early on prevent them from rushing the football, it puts all the pressure on Landry Jones and Ryan Broyles and this team to be able to pass the ball on a pass defense team that has been very solid, mixed in with blitzing and some other things that they do defensively to confuse you. So this is where it starts. If they can push like they're pushing this sled right now, Texas will have a great shot at walking away with that golden hat.
Do you feel like the tackles are getting enough of a push so far?
Well,
at times.
Most definitely. I think so, and I think you'll continue to see that the more that these guys play together, gel together, and find out that the main purpose here, it starts in the trenches. The big boys don't get a lot of attention, but they're the ones that certainly deserve the respect.
No, they don't get a lot of attention, but usually the battle that's won in the trenches, you're going to get a W for the whole team. That is Earl Christian Campbell. He had some pretty good games against OU, a Texas legend. Texas practice continues when we get back. Check out Game Plan with Mac Brown Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central right here on Longhorn Network. You want the game plan? This is your show. Thursday, Mac will talk Oklahoma and the Red River rivalry, what Texas needs to do on offense and defense to come out with a W in this game. Game Plan with Mac Brown Thursdays at 7 right here on LHN. Well, we are pleased to welcome in the head coach of the Texas football program, Mac Brown. And Coach, you know, I know you've been through this game a lot. This will be, I think, number 15 for you. So when you think about OU week, does the preparation change from any other week?
Kevin, it doesn't on the field. It does off the field. If there's any change on the field, you don't want the guys to play the game today. Because they're, in some of the earlier years, they were so excited and they spent all their energy today and then stunk on Saturday. So you want the guys to be ready to play on Saturday. Off the field, there's just a lot more distractions. You've got more media like this. You have a pep rally. You're involved with a luncheon on Thursday that you normally don't have. The players, everybody that talks to them this week, wherever they go, is talking about what are you going to do, how you going to do, how's the game, you know, that kind of stuff. After you beat Iowa State on the road with an impressive win, all the fans are saying, beat OU, beat OU. They're not saying anything about Iowa State. So it's just a different week. I think the analogy of it's a bowl game at midseason, that type of atmosphere is the way it really is.
Well, Coach, I know Christian Scott was someone you were excited to have back. Can you talk about the depth you have at safety right now?
Well, they're still looking at Christian. He's gotten that MRI, and they haven't made a decision yet, even about this week for sure. So we're still in hopes that he may get back for some. But the young guys have to come through. Losing Nolan and then Christian being limited puts you in a position where it really hurts you on kicking game first. It hurts you with nickel and dime defense. And then obviously it hurts you with your depth. Michael Thompson and Sherrod Evans played really well the other night for young guys. Just got to keep coming because they may have to play before the season's over.
Coach, with so many young guys, what's the last thing you tell your team before you go out to play this football game?
You enjoy the moment. This is a special game. Coaches come to Texas and OU for this game. Players come to the two schools for this game. Don't come up here and get all nervous and worry about it. You enjoy the environment, you embrace the environment, and you have fun in the game.
Coach, it's always a fun time. Good luck against OU.
Thank you, Kevin.
Well, you look at the tail of the tape at Texas taking on Oklahoma. Both teams 4-0. Oklahoma averaging more points per game. Texas giving up just a little bit less. But total yards per game, Oklahoma 555 total yards of offense. Brian Broyles is 13 receptions off of the NCAA mark. He already has the Big 12 record. Landry Jones has rewritten the record books. But turnover differential, this is one place Texas has been very different from last year. They're +6. Oklahoma is +3. And Ahmad, you've played in this game. You and I have watched this game so many times. It seems to be one of those contests that you can break it down to a couple big plays, and a lot of times those are turnovers.
And it usually comes down to the fourth quarter because these two teams are so evenly matched. And that's what you love about it as a player, is you're taking on top talent, and you have an opportunity to really add to the legacy of both of these programs.
Now there's Bo Davis, who he's been in some pretty big rivalries, including the Iron Bowl, Alabama and Auburn. Bo coming from Alabama, where he was a defensive line coach. And one drill we love with Bo, he's got the stickball drill, which is, it's not a real football, but it's a little mini, almost plastic football that he has put a stick into. And we'll see if we can see that in a second. They're going to go old school right now and just fire off on the sled. Is there one defensive lineman that Davis has schooled so far that's stood out?
I think you can definitely see his imprint on the two defensive tackles. Even Calvin Howell, who's a taller guy, Keyston Randall, taller players, they've done a much better job of keeping their pad level low, which makes them more dominant in the middle. And then you have someone who's built similar, you know, not as similar as both of those guys, I should say, and the way that he's been able to play when you look at Ashton Dorsey, shorter guy.
Desmond Jackson.
But
same.
wide, absolutely. Yeah. And I think you have to coach those players differently because their ball get off. What you're watching them do right now is a different drill for them when they are different sizes. And so the quick twitch that we've heard Coach Bo Davis talk about, all that is beating the guy when the play happens, being ready to fire off, being ready to go. And you see that imprint on the defensive tackles from Bo Davis. And then the DNs, Coach Oscar Giles, who you talked to earlier today in practice, they're getting off extremely well, and they're doing what he did here as a player, play tough.
Yeah.
And they take pride in rushing the passer and defending the run.
Oscar Giles mentioned that Johnny Walker touchdown catch earlier. We got to look at the Cotton Bowl. Oscar was a junior for that game. Texas won that game 28-24. Won their senior year 14-13 in 1990, part of the WIT tour. And that was Peter Gardere's second win. Of course, the only quarterback to ever beat OU 4 times. In fact, he did it the next year in 91, where Bubba Jacks took back a fumble, and they won 10-7. Now, I think the secondary deserves one of those wins, don't they there, Ahmad?
Indeed. You know, I'm always pulled for the secondary.
I know you are, but We always kid Peter about that one, that maybe we'll give you 3.5. He did get all 4 W's. You take a look at David Ash. That's Major Applewhite in the white hat, Brian Harsin in the black hat. Coaches or fans have asked me a lot. I know they've asked you, Ahmad. Do these guys get along? Are they working together? Yeah, they get along, and you can see they're working right next to each other. Working with David Ash. What's the next step for Ash in his game?
Consistency. It's only 4 games in for him, and if you really want to make an impact at this university and to add to that legacy we mentioned, you have to get better each and every day. That's why that's the theme. It's not just coach speak. It's not just player speak. It's really what it's about, because playing here, you have a challenge each and every day. For some people, when you go to this university, your practices are sometimes harder than your games.
Yeah.
So for David Ash, if he can continue that consistency, getting better against a secondary that's playing very well, make the right reads against a very active defensive line and a good linebacking core, it helps him get better. But right now, he's played so well. He's been effective. Like I said, he's protected the football. Those are all positive things. Those are things you expect from an older player. He's a young guy who's come in with an extreme amount of maturity, and he's doing that on the football field in big games. We'll see what he has for this one, because I know he's watched this game. He's talked about it earlier in the week, but it's a little different when you're sitting in the stands
I'm sure
and when you're put in between the hedges against this group.
Well, I've only sat in the stands or covered the game, and you can feel it there. So I can't imagine what it's like to strap pads on and walk down that tunnel. If you hear that noise in the background, that's not a giant old lawnmower that's right next to us. That's actually sound they're pumping in, because, as you said, half the field, you know, you got an interception on the OU side. You didn't know it was a pick because it was dead silent. You had to see the Texas fans getting up. The quarterbacks are going to hear that when they're in the OU side. Landry Jones will certainly hear that when he's in the Texas side. More Texas OU talk and more Texas practice when we return here on Longhorn Network. Well, you take a look at the Cotton Bowl. Empty right now. It will be full and packed come this Saturday, not only for the Texas State Fair, but mainly for that one game, Texas OU. Ahmad, we're excited. You and I were excited just covering this game and watching this game right after the Iowa State game ended. There's so many implications, obviously, as you take a look at Texas and Oklahoma when they're both unbeaten. Well, Texas won in 2008. Most people think they should have gone to the national championship or played for the Big 12 championship game. Won that game 45-35. You see 12-0 Oklahoma really has won the previous 3 before that 2008 game, but both teams will be undefeated. There's going to be a lot of hype for this game. We're certainly going to break it down the rest of the week.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun.
Sounds good. For Ahmad Brooks, I'm Kevin Dunn. You watch Texas practice. Join us tomorrow at 4. We've got more of this.